Shepherd. Here. Senator Lucas. Delegate Tatum. Here. Delegate Patton. Delegate Knight. Board Member Stant. District Engineer Hall. Here. Director DeGrove. Officer Nelson.
Kathy Vicks here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Can we have a motion, please?
Motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hippel. That's Mr. Shepherd. Do we, what vote, Mr. Page? Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is public comments. Mr. Page, do we have any?
Yes, sir. Mr. Drew Lumpkin has asked to approach the podium and speak for a few minutes. Welcome, Mr. Lumpkin.
This is a long walk. My name is Drew Lumpkin. I'm the Regional Director for United States Senator Mark Warner's office for the next week and a half. I'm actually, after 14 years, leaving the Senator's office, and I'm going on May 1st to start with the Hampton Roads Executive Roundtable. It's been an honor to work alongside this body to make sure that or at least try to bring federal investment to the region. And I will still be working in a capacity just on the business side of things. You never stop working for Mark Warner. He just stops paying you. So I'm excited to for this new endeavor. My colleagues were here for Harumpa. They have since left, but Aaron Carter and Jean Garland will continue carrying that baton for the senator. I have personal contact information or can connect you to them if that's something you're interested in. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Lumpkin, you've been a great source of information for all of us on the local level. It's always good to see you at almost every event, and we congratulate you for your next endeavors. Next, I'd like to just make a few comments. I want to thank everyone for attending today. Since our last meeting, which was a very short meeting indeed, but we've made some great progress on many of our projects. The high-rise bridge is now open, and Hampton Roads express lanes are in use. The HRTAC Mary tunnel boring machine has dug through the North Island pit, and it is in the process of being turned back to the second tunnel. It's a great milestone. In fact, Mr. Page sent me a picture of that just yesterday, so that is quite interesting. Finally, I have appointed Mayor Tuck, Mr. McCarthy, and Mr. Hippel to the nominating committee to develop a slate of officers to be presented at the Commission's annual organizational meeting on June 20th, 2024. Next is consent agenda. Mr. Page.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you on your consent agenda are the following items. 5A is the minutes of the December 14th, 2023 regular meeting. 5B is the HRTAC personnel manual. 5C is the update to the approved 2024-2030 plan of finance update, 6-year operating capital program of projects, transit regional high priority projects, mid-cycle project application. And 5D is the I-64, I-464 interchange, exit 291 flyover ramp improvements, UPCs 120375 and 123322 standard project agreement amendment for project budget, plan of finance allocation float down. Mr. Chairman, turning the consent items back to you for a block vote.
So could we have a motion, please?
Motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hippel. Thank you, Mayor Tuck. Please, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next are item 6, action items. Would like to turn over to Mr. Page.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move forward to the action agenda. Action agenda item 6A, the decision brief, is in your document before you. It's the Hampton Roads Express Lanes Network, segment 4AB, project agreement amendment for project construction and project budget. and also a plan of finance float down. The recommendation from staff and from the Finance Committee is to approve the Second Amendment to the Hampton Roads Express Lanes Network Segment 4A, 4B Standard Project Agreement. Also includes a deallocation from our 6-year program of $8,692,265, and also provide authorization to you to execute a standard project agreement amendment. Included in the discussions today on the Finance Committee's agenda, they took action today, and I'll turn the floor over, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Hippel for a Finance Committee report.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to report out the Finance Committee met this morning, discussed this item, and I was asked to bring it forward to this committee for approval. Thank you, sir.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Could we have a motion? Do we need a second on that motion?
Need to read the motion.
Need Mr. Glima?
Yes, sir. The motion is that the commission, A, approves the Second Amendment to the Hampton Roads Express Lanes Network Segment 8, 4A, 4B project agreement. B, deallocates $8,692,265 from the amount budgeted to the project in the approved HRTAC, HRTF fiscal year 2024-2030 6-year plan of finance, and authorizes the commission chair to execute the standard project agreement amendment.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion?
Motion for approval?
Thank you, Mr. Hippel. Second. Thank you. And Mayor Tuck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Page.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving ahead, 6B on your action item agenda is the
FY 2025 HRTAC Administrative and Project Development Budget. The Finance Committee recommends that the Commission endorse the proposed HRTAC FY 2025 Administrative Project Development Budget reflected in the enclosed budget in this document, and authorize the Executive Director to hold a public hearing. Turn the floor over now, sir, to Mr. Hippel to report out the activities of the Finance Committee on this matter this morning.
Mr. Chair, the Finance Committee met this morning on this item and asked me to bring it forward to you and this body for approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Glima, would you please read the motion?
The motion reads as follows. The commission endorses the proposed HRTAC fiscal year 2025 administrative and project development budget and authorizes the executive director to conduct a public hearing on the proposed HRTAC fiscal year 2025 administrative and project development budget.
Could we have a motion?
second.
Who was the motion? Mr. Shepherd. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mayor Dyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to 6C in your action agenda, FY 2025 through FY 2030 Plan of Finance Update, which is a 6-year operating capital program of projects for the highway, regional, high priority projects and related FY 2025 schedule of debt service. Moving forward with this, sir, the Finance Committee recommends the Commission endorse the proposed FY 2025 through FY 2030 Plan of Finance Update. It's a 6-year operating and capital program of projects for the highway, regional, high priority projects as an update to the HRTAC adopted financial plan to include certain modifications for the region's high priority projects and additional revenues based on newer updated information, and authorize HRTAC staff to conduct a public hearing. I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Hippel to give us a Finance Committee activity report from this morning's meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee met on this as well and decided to bring this forward to the commission for a positive vote. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Glima.
The commission and the motion reads as follows. The commission endorses the proposed fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2030 Plan of Finance Updates, 6-year operating and capital program of projects, highway, regional, high priority projects as an update to the HRTAC adopted 2024-2030 financial plan, and authorizes the executive director to conduct a public hearing and report back public comments for consideration in the commission's action, which action is expected to be taken not later than at its June 20, 2024 annual organizational meeting.
A motion and second, please.
Second.
Mr. Shepherd. Thank you, Mr. Hippel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Thank you, sir. 6D is the FY 2025 through FY 2030 Plan of Finance Update, which is a 6-year operating capital program of projects for the transit regional high priority projects. The Finance Committee recommends that the Commission endorse the proposed FY 2025 through FY 2030 Plan of Finance Update, six-year operating capital program of projects. Transit Regional High Priority Projects is an update to the HRTAC adopted financial plan to include certain modifications for the region's high priority transit projects and additional revenues based on new or updated information, and authorize the HRTAC staff to conduct a public hearing. Turn the floor over to Mr. Hippel to report out the Finance Committee's activities of this morning's meetings on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee met on this issue as well and asked me to report out to the commission that they recommend approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hippel. Mr. Glenn, the motion, please.
The motion reads as follows. The commission endorses the proposed fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2030 plan of finance update, six-year operating and capital program of projects, transit regional high priority projects as an update to the HRTAC adopted 2024-2030 financial plan, and authorizes the executive director to conduct a public hearing and report back public comments for consideration in the commission's action, which action is expected to be taken not later than at its June 2024 annual organizational meeting.
Could we have a motion and second on this item?
Motion for approval?
Thank you, Mr. Hippel and Mr. Shepherd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me, do we have a?
I thought the second was Glover.
Second was Glover.
Oh, Mayor Glover. Thank you, sir. All in favor, say aye. And now we have Mayor Glover doing the second. We better take a recount. All say aye. In favor? Opposed? Well, the motion still carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 6E is the 2045 Long Range Plan of Finance update for the region's high priority highway projects in the Hampton Roads Regional Transit Fund. The Finance Committee recommends that the Commission endorse the proposed 2045 Long Range Plan of Finance update for the HRTAC high priority projects, including highway projects and transit projects, as reflected in the enclosed presentation in your decision brief packet, and authorize the Executive Director to hold a public hearing regarding the proposed Long Range Plan of Finance update. Turning the floor over to Mr. Hippel for the Finance Committee's report on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, we also met on this item, the Finance Committee this morning, and recommended to move this for approval. Thank you, sir.
Councilor Galema, would you please read the motion?
Motion reads as follows. The commission endorses the HRTAC 2045 Long Range Plan of Finance update for the region's high priority projects and the Hampton Roads Regional Transit Fund, and authorizes the executive director to conduct a public hearing on the proposed HRTAC 2045 proposed Long Range Plan of Finance update and report back public comments for consideration in the commission's action, which action is expected to be taken not later than in its June 2024 annual organizational meeting.
We have a motion and a second on this item.
Motion for approval?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Moving ahead, agenda item 6F is the HRTAC Debt Management Plan update on financing activities and next steps for the HRELN financing. The Finance Committee recommends the Commission approve or authorize as appropriate the Debt Management Plan update, the development of the Commission Chair and staff of an HRTF-backed senior debt issuance, provided that the consummation of the issuance would be subject to Commission approval at a future meeting. And lastly, the development of the Commission Chair and staff of a toll-back TIFIA loan letter of interest and the execution and delivery of such letter of interest by the Commission Chair and or Executive Director to the Build America Bureau, known as TIFIA, provided that the consummation of the transactions contemplated by the letter of interest would be subject to the Commission approval at a future meeting. Turn the floor over to Mr. Hippel for a report out on the robust discussion we had on that this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to report out as well on this. Our Finance Committee had a lot of work this morning that we took care of, and I want to thank the committee members for coming in early and taking care of all the business at hand. And we ask that you move this forward as an approval item for today. Thank you, sir.
Before I ask for the motion, I do want to thank you and the committee for all this.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Galena, would you please?
The motion reads as follows. The commission approves and or authorizes as appropriate, 1, the debt management plan update 2, the development by the commission chair and staff of a HRTF-backed senior debt issuance, provided that the consummation of the issuance would be subject to commission approval at a future meeting. And 3, the development by the commission chair and staff of a tollback TIFIA letter of interest and the execution and delivery of such letter of interest by the commission chair and/or executive director to the Build America Bureau, parenthetically TIFIA, provided that the consummation of the transactions contemplated by the letter of interest would be subject to commission approval at a future date.
A motion and second, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer.
Second?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Hippel.
you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. Mr. Page.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you in your package are the informational items. I'll bring your attention to the HRTAC monthly financial report, which finds that the commission is in good financial standing. Also, the VDOT project updates. And if I may, sir, take the liberty to ask Mr. Hall if he had wanted to give an update on the great opportunities that we saw yesterday of the advancement of the HRBT project, and also talk about the Express Lanes Network, which is now in full standing. Mr. Stant, you also attended that event yesterday too, in case you wanted to make some.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I will just say, we were, as you mentioned earlier, very excited about the breakout yesterday. We've got about 5.5 to 6 months to disassemble Mary, turn her around, and head back towards Norfolk. So we're excited to be celebrating our final breakout a year from this coming October. So we'll anticipate starting mining up again, heading back towards Norfolk in the October timeframe, and then roughly 11 months, and we'll be back on the other end. So look forward to that. As you mentioned, segment 2 fully operational. I will just say that we continue to work through the tolling algorithms and making sure that we're tweaking that to, again, our intent is to maximize throughput, to make sure that we get the best use out of that lane as possible, and to provide the greatest benefit to our general purpose lanes as well. So we continue to look at that as we've got those lanes open. And then lastly, I know a lot of folks have asked about the putting the bollards up on the rest of the network there between 264 and 464. That work continues. A few delays based on weather. It's temperature sensitive, and we're doing it at night not to interrupt traffic during the day. We should be finishing up all of the bollard emplacement in the westbound direction here by the weekend. And then the intention is contractor will start work in the eastbound direction, and we'll have that fully closed in probably by the first week in May. And then the last item I'll just mention, the other key milestone for HRBT is we anticipate having our first new trestle open to traffic, and that is the eastbound north trestle, which will carry traffic from Hampton onto the North Island. Again, we anticipate that happening as early as the first week in May. Thank you, sir. I'll just say, a lot of folks, big day, really impactful event, but it's all the work that happened in this room that made that all possible. So thank you.
Mr. Stant, would you like to add to this?
Only that yesterday was indeed a spectacular day, just not just for VDOT and for this body as well. I mean, it was an amazing sight. I also serve as chairman of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel Commission, and I'd like to report that our situation with that anchor is now over. It's been fully taken care of. Our TBM is back to mining, and it's going very, very, very well. So that's another good report on tunnel boring activities in the Tidewater area.
I think it's safe to say everyone in this room is just thrilled to see as each piece falls into place. And also, as some of the things that we voted on today are just great next steps. And those of you that have been involved this longer than I have, I know you have even greater appreciation, but it really is a fabulous thing to watch as this region accomplishes one of the greatest achievements of our time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The last information item I have is the announcement of the HRTAC annual organizational meeting, which will be June 20th in this room at 12:30 p.m. Thanks, sir. Turn it back over to you for anything else on new business or adjournment.
Are there any other items anyone would like to bring up at this time before we adjourn?
Not so much an item, but
Yes.
I have to register my displeasure that we started this meeting late and we're still going to finish in about 20 minutes. It never happened when I was chair.
I don't know as much, so I can't say as much. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you again for being here.